Okay. Yeah, it was definitely green. You're gonna laugh at how passionate I get and how angry and sort of sarcastic I get when I talk about this, because it's when I look at the Shu Jing, I see when I look through it and see the ancient Zhou, I see the most honorable, the most inspiring, the most admirable vision of what a human being can be and what a good human being is. Close it well, quietly, and have a seat. That I have ever seen. And I have looked in the Bible, and I have looked in the Greeks, and I have looked in the Romans, and I have looked in the Sumerians, and I have looked in the Indians, and I have looked and looked and looked. I spent 10 years of my first 10 years of life out of high school, I was looking for God. And so I went on a 10-year, 12-year religious quest. I wasn't trying to become a banker. I was trying to find God because I don't know, I was looking for it. And I have never found anything more beautiful than what I see in this civilization's vision of what a human being can be, and what a society, what a human society can be, and what a human culture can be, what a human culture can be, what a human society can be, what we can be. That's what I see when I look through it, and I see them time traveling 2,000-3,000 years in the past when we were a young planet of human beings. Kat, how are your fingernails? Are they pretty good? Anyway, the sarcasm and the scorn and the bitterness will come, and it will come. I can't help it. It comes out when I talk about these things. Some of them is when I instead see not through the glass, but the reflection back on here we are now, 3,000 years later. Our culture, our vision of what a good human being is, our vision of what a good society is, our vision of what a good government is. And I find it disgusting in comparison to what I see. So as a mirror, I see a disgusting reflection of what we have become. But as a window, a clear glass, I see the opposite of disgust. I see absolute beauty and absolute inspiration. And realism, by the way, those of us talking about the absence of it. Let's start with music. Let's not start with music. Let's start with Yao. And let's start with the first line. And I think I asked you to exercise a form of reading, teen brain or not, your grade will rise or fall, depending on whether you take my advice, to pay attention to the words used. Yao polished the people through education. To polish the people through education. What is education for? To make people shine. To polish the people. The people are just a lump of humanity, and here we are, the government, the rulers, and we have to do something as we rule them and shape them in some way. We have to train them. We have to control them. Well, what are we going to do with them? We're going to educate them. What's that education for? To polish them. That word, he polished the people through education to make them, well, I think you quoted it. Who quoted it? Who was it? You should know. It came out of, there was something else, to make them radiant or, no? Brightly intelligent. Bright, polished, intelligent. And then I think about what education is for today in my culture. So there's the beautiful thing, right? Let's take these people who are just common people and let's try to make them polished, bright, intelligent. What a gorgeous, gorgeous way to think about what education can do. When you look at them, they shine. When you watch them, they shine. And then I think about what education today is for. Why are you here? What are we trying? What, you know, when we talk about education, what's its purpose now? Is it to make you the most impressive, shiny, gorgeous human being you can be? Success. Okay, thank you. And success, what are the connotations around success? Wealth. Okay, and so why are you here?
To get into a good college.
To get a job. And what kind of job gives you success?
One that pays well.
One that pays well, right? Typically, right? There's so many people who are like, I'm going to go to college. I don't know what job I'm going to get. I just want to major in the job that I make a lot of money in. My major is making money. In fact, that's what business majors do, right? They become business majors so they can make money, right? I don't know what the good life is. Yeah, I do. It's making a lot of money so that I can have a lot of money, right? And so I notice what I'm not valuing. Being a good person, being a creative person, being a skilled person. Notice that there was a minister of education who, if you read with antennas up and the sense of wonder that I hope by God, by the end of this course, you realize is staring at you from a piece of paper that I so carefully chose. The minister of education goes and teaches the people something, and I don't have a copy with me. I can't find it. The classes of rites. So what do we mean by education? A ritual. We're teaching them how to observe key moments in life. Well, what are the 5 classes of rites? Can you tell me, Natalie?
Worship, mourning, war, hospitality, and marriage and childhood.
Let's take them one by one. What was the first one?
Worship.
Worship, and that's going to be ancestors. What's the second class of rites?
Mourning.
Mourning. My father died. I'll tell you very, very quickly. I was a little bit disgusted because of how my family showed no. Look, stop. You can do it one by one. All right. I was disgusted because I've looked at how this culture says mourning, a funeral. Your father dies. You can do it well or you can do it cheaply. And cheaply doesn't mean how much money that it costs. Cheaply means like, how cheap are you as a person? When the person who gave birth to you, carried you through life, put up with you, supported you, all sorts of stuff, then passes. And there's one last day to deal with the end of this person's life. And you know what happened at my dad's funeral? It was very quick. It's a reflection of our culture. That's why I'm saying it. It's the mirror instead of the glass. I see through that glass. They understood. There is an inspiring way, an admirable way to deal with the key stages of life, and then there is the inferior way. My father died in February. It was very cold. The funeral was very far from my mom, my poor mom's home, so I understand mom's point of view, but she did not have the ritual understanding that would have made this a polished and shining end to my father's life, because my father had to be taken from the funeral home to his crypt or tomb or something where they place his body and seal it, and then it's over, right? We have actually put his body to rest. Well, that was across town, and it was icy and things like this. And so, and there was another, the funeral, the actual cemetery, not the funeral home, the cemetery had another service, so we would have had to wait a few hours with my father's body to finally put it to its final rest, where it will stay. I'm listening to the preacher give his sermon, and then he ends the sermon, because it was like a church sermon. It was, it was really like, yeah, your dad died, but let's talk about Jesus. That's what my dad's funeral was. It was really weird. And he said the family will not go with the body to the cemetery, and so the service is over now. And I, knowing this text particularly, and many others that also have this Confucian ritual, Western Zhou sense, was like, and it only hit me later, right? It was like, Mom had told me. It only hit me later that our inability to deal with inconvenience. Oh, we don't want to like wait a few hours for them to be able to like get to dad's body and put it away. We don't want to wait a few hours. We got to drive back a long way. It's cold and all that sort of thing, right? So we're not going to, right? What a horribly unritual sense of mourning we displayed. The fact that that would even enter a person's mind, right? That my mom would actually let that. My mom was like, we're not going to follow your father's body to its final resting place. We've had the funeral. We've said our goodbyes here. That's good enough. And I'm like, wow. And I didn't stand up and say, you know, as a good filial son, Mom, I got to disagree. I'm going with Dad. I understand, right? I didn't do that. And I feel kind of bad about that, actually, in retrospect, because I myself don't have the sense of ritual that I should have had at that. Life is uglier because I didn't have it. That's my point. Ritual makes human life beautiful. The lack of a sense of ritual, please sit up, that's not ritual. The lack of a sense of ritual makes human life less beautiful. What are our other rituals? War. Let's skip that one because that's too complicated and there's something, I've got a plan and we haven't even started that. What are the other ones? Hospitality. Look at that. Every day we interact with strangers or with friends, and we can either do it consciously and beautifully and carefully, or we can do it. Hospitality is a two-way thing. It's a relational thing, a guest and a host, or we can do it unconsciously, sloppily, carelessly. We can do it carefully, we care, or carelessly, we don't care. And so we can sit as guests like a person who doesn't care about the beauty of the daily thing called human interaction, right? The sense of ritual here is it's all about beautifying and polishing and making shiny the people. Have you ever walked into a place and said, God, these people are just like, this is a depressingly ugly group of people. Just the way they're sitting, the way they're talking, the way they're dressing, they haven't shaven, they don't seem to care about their appearance. Life can be more or less beautiful based on what sort of sense one has of ritual, basically. What's the last two, Natalie? Marriage. One should do marriage well. It's an important moment. Childbirth. One should do childbirth well. It's an important moment. On and on. So education included education and ritual. We're going to make these people shine so that when you go into their villages, everything is done carefully. Not formally, but carefully, because they just are conscious of it. They are not crude. They have been polished. They're not dull. Yeah.
So since there are farmers all the lives, like everyone besides the emperor.
Yeah.
Why do they need education besides just farming?
If you think about it, good questions, and it's amazing how little we think because we're not farmers ourselves, and so we think about farmers for 10 seconds because we read novels and see interesting stuff on the internet all the time, and we don't think for more than 2 minutes at a time about anything. Farmers don't just farm every day of their lives because farmers have seasons. There's the planting season. That's a lot of work for a few weeks. And then you basically just tend. There's not much work there. There's harvest. There's a lot of work at that point. And then there's just it's fallow, and there's no work, right? There's a lot more going on in a farming village than just farming, right? Villages make music. Villages make rituals. Villages make festivals. Villages make clothes. Villages make all sorts of things, dances, songs. Teaching the people gives them the ability to create the traditions and to continue the traditions and do them beautifully and well so that that village is shiny with all the things of culture. I'm going to go on. Music. Nobody said, wow, there was a ministry of music in this government. Shun says, okay, what are the most important things? Okay, I'm Obama. I'm going to set up my government. I got a Secretary of State. That's for international relations. I got a Secretary of the Treasury. That's for the economy. I've got a Secretary of Defense. That's for war. And, of course, President Obama needs a Secretary of Music. What the, right? You did. Here's a short version. What is music today for us? Again, here comes the contempt and disgust. Is music today for us, popular music today for us, pop music? Just the stuff that comes into your ears through your computers, TVs, iPods, phones. Would you call it inspiring and the best, like the best, just showing human culture as high as it could be? Can anybody?
It used to be like that, but not anymore.
What is it like now? Come on, quickly. Majority of it is like what?
Repetition of stupid words.
Repetition of stupid words. Stupidity. Glorifying things that shouldn't be glorified. Miley Cyrus rubbing her ass on somebody's crotch on national TV to honor music. Contempt and disgust and sarcasm. Disgusting. And our kids are allowed, because the parents have not been trained in the ritual of parenting, and because our government doesn't have a minister of music who says that will not be played in our culture because we want our people to be shiny and polished, Miley Cyrus is absolutely fine, and so is Justin Bieber with the immortal, uplifting and inspiring lyrics, baby, 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 oh, baby, 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 oh. Or whatever the hell, right? Bitches and hoes. Of course, we got to have our bitches. We got to have our hoes. We got to have our grills. We got to have our, our 6s and our 40s and all this crap, right? Who needs Satan? Who needs Satan to damn, corrupt, and possess and create evil in the world when you got your radio? Am I right, though?
Well, I guess different people value different things and see shining and beauty and intelligence is different from other people. So I'm not advocating for Justin Bieber, but other people see brilliance differently from you or us.
Right. And so we should say that it is actually beautiful to see people wearing baseball hats on the side of their head that are far too large and pants down to here showing their pubic hairs and on and on and on.
Maybe that's what they believe is brilliant.
Okay, and so now I go back to what I see that is wise about this sage king ideal. Listen to me. Don't be uncomfortable. Listen, this is serious stuff. Do not go against what is right to win the praise of the people. But I like this stuff. That's your thing. But some people like it, and so you got to respect that. I think a sober person would say that's a very hard thing to justify, to argue. No, look, gangster murder songs about killing people are good. We should let that happen. It's good, right?
Well, you got to be individual. You got to respect the other people's right to do whatever they want to do.
Thank you. Thank you.
Unjust and
You're being so Western. Thank you. You've got to respect individual rights. Not if you're a sage king who respects the rights of the community to save itself from people who want to turn their children into whores and murderers and criminals.
But what if the sage king turns bad?
That's a problem. That's a problem. That's why we have the mandate of heaven. That's why we have the sage king. That's why we have the ministers who will constantly look at their kings and say, you're turning bad, right? Look, they're not saying they have an easy solution here. Mm-hmm. They're saying that they have an ideal that should be attempted, pursued. It should be this. Yeah?
So you're giving the emperor the power to tell the people.
I'm giving the emperor the power. Okay, am I going to let children have M&Ms, breakfast, lunch, and dinner?
No, I'm just saying you're telling them what to eat.
No, I'm not telling them what. Oh, how am I telling them what to think?
I'm saying if you're telling people they think is right and what they think is wrong.
How am I telling them what to think when I'm saying you can't listen to music that glorifies murder?
They have the liberty to do so. And that's the Western idea again. It's still
okay, right. And so, yes, I'm telling them you cannot spread let's glorify murder, greed, crime, rape, fighting, violence. Let's glorify that. We cannot do that. So yes, censorship. You cannot give the people what they want if it goes against what's right, because your responsibility is to the entire society, not to the individual who's like, but I want to listen to murder music. I want to. It's my individual right. Sorry. You're part of a community. You're part of a family. All sorts of stuff.
Wouldn't it be the community's duty to tell the rest of the people? We wouldn't have one person for everyone in that community who has to tell them.
We've already gone round and round about the fact that the emperor is not alone. He's got ministers, and a good emperor listens to those ministers. So it's not like one person is doing anything. I want to go to the point of music. This is good. We're going to start having some arguments now on forums where it'll be fun. All right, I'm going to make a forum where it's just like, I'll take all takers. Music. Nobody had a WTF moment when it said that the job of the minister of music was to go from temple to temple and make sure that all the bells and instruments were in tune. That's your job. Make sure that the music is not dissonant or out of tune in our land. Now, I want you to listen to this. I want you to think about what you just heard. This culture saw music not as some cheap form of entertainment that makes jangly sounds in your ears and makes your hips shake back and forth. Music can do that. It obviously does, right? Music makes us want to do drugs. Drugs makes us want to do music, right? All sorts of stuff, right? It makes us want to have sex. It makes us want to get drunk. It makes us want to fight, right? Headbanger, heavy metal music, right? Let's go fight and kill, right? I was in the Army. We would just like blare Iron Maiden, just heavy metal. We'd blare it as we were riding our Humvees with our M16s loaded and our machine guns loaded, right? We felt badass. We got killing music going here, right? Music can do all sorts of things to us. Notice the one thing, and the West tried it with classical music back in the days before democracy, by the way. Beethoven, Mozart, Mahler, Brahms, Bach. I hope you're thinking, besides just like going, wow, he's wild. Okay. Because the arguments are full of evidence here. The Chinese see music as something far more than cheap entertainment to make your jangly sounds in your head. The Chinese see music not as cheap entertainment. They see it more as, I would say, a natural resource. Please write that down so that you can argue with me if you disagree. And I think there is something to be said for it. We need water, and we need to protect our water from pollution because we die without water. It's a natural resource. So is sound. And we need laws to protect our sound, just like we need laws to protect our water. We don't let people pollute our water. Oh, I'm free. I'm an individual. I like polluting water. Water pollutes us if it's poison. So does music. And it turns us into little gangsters, whores, mobsters, luxury lovers, Justin Bieber, pinheads, Miley Cyrus, pinheads. It poisons us. It poisons our children, and our children grow up to be poisoned adults, and we have a bad society. This is the Chinese point of view. Music is very important. It's a natural resource. It has a spiritual power that we are totally out of touch with. Now, that was the bell, and I didn't even get to what I wanted to talk about, but I hope you found the provocation interesting. When we get back, remind me, somebody, you're pretty good, all of you actually, right at the bottom of your notepad, of your notebook, Mr. Burrell, give us the ancestor poem, We Didn't Do It. The ancestor poem, We Didn't Do It. Ancestor poem, We Didn't Do It. You're the only class I didn't do it with. If you want me to talk about, to quickly do Jade Token's tour of inspection, I can do that too, but you have to remind me. Have a good interim semester to all of you too. Yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
Wouldn't that kind of discourage individuality, which would actually sort of lead to, like, individuality wouldn't lead to any progress?
It's a commonly heard thing. Questions of individuality are very interesting. We will get there. They're good questions.
Okay.
Now, notice it's not saying there is no freedom of speech. It's saying that there are limits to what we allow to be.
Yeah. Yeah.
The sage means wiser than others. And you know what? I know that there are some people who are wiser than me. And when I see them, the Chinese Communist Party today, this week, announced that its government is lowering their economic growth targets for next year. They want to grow less economically so that there is cleaner water. And I'm like, those are some pretty sage politicians. They're not letting the people vote on this. They're saying, we're going to lower the increase of wealth because we see that quality of life needs us to protect our environment more.
So do you think life was better back then than it is now?
Really complex question. Clearly, if there was acupuncture then, I just got my back done by an acupuncturist who didn't use any. Yeah, I know. Yeah, acupuncture was great. It was amazing. And that was traditional. There was no modern medicine involved in it. So, and it does go back to the Zhou, actually, traditional Chinese medicine. I think in many ways, this is a very amazing period, the modern age. I think technology is amazing. Does that make it good? Not necessarily.
What was the literature rate back in the...
Bye. Oh, God. Huh? No, it's not cigarettes. It's tea. 10% max.
Well, then you can argue that the whole control of the music and the whole ministry of music is kind of like a ministry of propaganda, because the way that you would spur or transmit messages would be through music. So so instead of saying that you're doing it as this kind of art, you're restricting the art in a sense and making it keep it so that it doesn't misalign it